Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Deal. My name is Brady with the Carrot Team. I'm your host today, and I got my friend, returning guest Tyler Ford with me. How's it going, Tyler?
Good, Brady. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I am doing good. For those of you, if this is your first time watching, Behind the Deal is a show where we sit down with some of our favorite uh, agents and investors and break down some of the wild deals that they're doing, some of these crazy stories, so that you can learn the ins and outs, the negotiation, the marketing, every aspect of some of the deals that they're doing. And so you can learn from them. And so, what are we talking about today, Tyler? Tell us what the heck this mouthful of a title, the quiet title eviction carryback deal is.
Well, this one had a little bit of everything. It was kind of a crazy one, and it was kind of a hybrid deal because I got a listing out of it as well. But yeah, it definitely had some challenges going into it. The seller knew she wanted a quick sale, but there was a title defect, and she was kind of in a bind because she wasn't able to. She was under contract with somebody, and they backed out just because of the title defect. And
Hmm.
so I jumped in, assumed the issues, closed knowing there was a title defect, and had to work through those in order to be able to get it sold.
This is a complicated one. These are the ones that we like to focus on. For anyone, just quick disclaimer for anyone listening to this on the podcast version, make sure to go to carrot.com/deal and you can catch the video version. We go live every other week. And so you can join us for a Q&A. If anyone's watching live, make sure to put your questions in the chat. We'll answer them in real time here. But that being said, we're gonna dive into this deal and break it down. So tell me, where'd the lead come from for this one?
So it was an opt-in lead in one of my Carrot sites. So the lead came through, and when it came through, I knew it was a good one, and I
Mm.
jumped on it and went out and met with the woman, and sat down with her face to face and agreed upon sales price, and went through her challenges, and she was upfront with the issues that she was having. And anyway, long and short, put it under contract and closed on it, and then dealt with the issues once she was gone.
Hmm. Was this an SEO lead?
It was an SEO lead. Yep.
Hmm. Okay.
Yep. It was
Um,
a organic SEO lead. The property, it was a manufactured home on a half acre, and it had a standalone guest house as well. But
hmm.
anytime a mobile home leads comes in, I'm on them. I love working mobile home leads.
That's interesting because we're actually thinking about doing a little podcast series, a couple episodes on this, because almost everybody throws away their mobile home leads. Why do you love them? What's appealing to you?
Well, long and short, I launched my Carrot site and I started getting a lot of mobile home leads, and I would always what I call K to C them. I kicked them to the curb. Literally, I just delete them, man.
Yeah.
I thought there was no profit in them. I thought there was no demand. I thought they were a pain in the butt, and I always strayed away from them. Well, long and short of it, there was one that came through, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get my feet wet and just work this deal. And this is a separate deal than what we're talking about, but went out, bought it, and cleaned it up, put it on the market, and it was crazy. I had first day in MLS, had like 10 cash offers, ended up making about 40K on the deal. And ever since then, I've been totally hooked. I'd say more than half of what we're doing right now is in the mobile home space.
Really? Is
Yep.
it unintentionally?
And it's
Or
intentionally, it takes less money.
because you
They're
guys have the
easy to
mobile
work
home
on.
website as well, right?
Yep. Yep. So it's intentional.
That's awesome. That's quite a big light bulb moment. I guess when you go from throwing away your leads to making 40 grand on a mobile home, that'll change your mindset a little bit.
Yep, yep. I love working them. There's a lot of different ways to get them sold. A lot of them, this one I do carrybacks where I get the bulk of my initial investment back, and then I'll do a carryback. And, and so I love them.
Mm.
I mean, I've got a nice monthly steady stream of notes receivable income coming in from mobile home deals that I do, but I prefer to sell them on carrybacks.
That's nice. Well, let's dive into that because we got to carry back on this deal that we're doing
Yep.
today. So it
Yep.
sounds like the negotiation for this one was pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Oh, it was. I mean, right up, she said, I was under contract. The deal fell out. Here's the deal. So she had bought the property 20 years ago with a boyfriend, not married. And from what she told me, the boyfriend was like in and out, but in terms of their relationship was short lived. But for whatever reason, he was on title. And
Mm,
she felt as though that he had no, even though he was on title and they were never married.
mm.
Uh, so it was a little bit different because in Arizona, it's a
Oh,
community state. They were never married.
she bought
But
it 20 years ago with him. I was gonna say, who keeps a boyfriend for 20 years without tying the knot?
yeah, no, I mean, she said they bought it. And then shortly thereafter, he was gone and she hadn't
Okay.
talked to him since, but he was on title and
Mm,
she kind of forgot about it. So she went to sell it. It was under contract and, the title report came back and he was on title. So the sellers backed out of the deal because, he was nowhere to be found. She thought that she could just sell it without him, not knowing that he was on title.
and they were just
Uh,
trying to sell it traditionally, like, went with an agent, try to list it on the MLS?
exactly,
Did the
exactly.
agent not know, or when
Well,
did they
so
find
you can
out?
do in Arizona, we're an escrow state. We don't do it. It's not an attorney state. So a lot of good agents up front will do what is called an early bird, where they can order the preliminary title report up front. So if they were to have done that, which they, in my guess, they didn't do it. The agent had no idea that there was a title defect until it was under contract
Mm,
and it came up once everybody got the preliminary title report.
mm, interesting.
So they were
So
they were caught off guard and surprised. Long and short of it, she ended up getting out of her listing just because she knew she had to deal with it, and that's where I came along.
so she's probably Googling something like "sell my house fast" or "sell my house with title issues" or
Exactly.
something. Okay.
Yep.
It's that really niche phrase. She's like, "Okay, I can't go with the traditional agent. I need to find someone who specializes in these weird transactions. I gotta get this figured out. I need to
And
find a
she
problem
needed
solver."
and she had some health issues. She needed to get to Texas with family where she was surrounded by family. And I mean, I got a really good deal on the property, but I took on some challenges, one of which was tracking down the ex-boyfriend to either get him to sign a quick claim deed, offer him a little bit of money, or do what is called a quiet title. And
Mm,
we tried the we tried tracking him down, and I was willing to pay him some money to get him to sign a quick claim. But we couldn't track him down. So we had to do what is called a quiet title.
what, I wanna dive into the quiet title because that's really interesting, but, first, what are the steps that you take to try and track someone down, and are you usually successful with it?
Well, I have an attorney here that I've been using for a long time, and so I hired him to do all the tracking down, serve papers, try to get it. We got a handle on where he was, and we served him
Mm,
papers, and we did everything trying to speed up the process. Because at the end of the day, if we could have paid him and got him to sign a quick claim, it would have been done and over with.
mhm.
So I hired an attorney and hired a private investigator to try to track this guy down. We did find where he was, but and we served him with no response. So we did all the things possible in order to try to get him to sign off on it. And I was willing to pay him up to $5,000 to sign the quick claim. But
Mm.
he could have got 5K and he didn't. So anyway, so then we went through the quiet title.
So what's interesting is that, like, you talk about getting the house for a good deal, but you had to take on some challenges and you're taking on these risks. So you talk about like investors making sometimes a bigger spread than a traditional commission. It's like, yeah, you're taking a
Mhm.
lot of risk and you're putting out your own cash and a lot of time and energy into like trying to track someone down when the deal very much could just fall apart.
Well, the deal, I mean, I closed on it. She got her money. And so now it's my problem.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
okay, that's right. It's
Yeah,
after
so in
it's
terms
yeah.
of I mean, it was again, you gotta calculate your risks and never spend more money than you can afford to lose, but I knew I could get it resolved, and I knew at the end of the day, I could be profitable, and also worst case, I always do what's a worst thing that can happen. I can't satisfy the title right at the gate, and I turn this property into a rental, and I'm still, cash flowing probably eight to $900 a month.
Mm.
So worst case scenario, that's what I would have done, and still continue to try to figure out the title. But fortunately, we went through the quiet title process and was able to satisfy the escrow company to be able to issue clear title once we went through the quiet title process.
So tell me about that. What's the quiet title process look like?
So in Arizona, again, we're an escrow state. So a quiet title, and I've done this, this is not the first time I've had to do it, but quiet title, basically, if there's a title defect on a property, what a quiet title does is there's a period of time, and I might get the exact time wrong, but I think it's 3 months, where you serve everybody notice that could have a claim to a property based on the title report. And then they've got the ability to respond that they do have an interest. And then from there, you work it all out. So we did everything necessary for the quiet title in terms of satisfying the escrow company, where we notified the ex-boyfriend, and then there's a period of time that they have to respond. If they don't respond, then it's quiet title, meaning it's just quiet for a period of time. And if nobody raises their hand to make a claim, then the title company, based on all the documentation, is willing to issue a clear title report. So it was a 3-month process of doing everything required to fulfill the quiet title. And the ex-boyfriend did not respond and did not make a claim based on him being on title.
So they're making sure that you've done your due diligence. Hey, you reach out to everyone that's on the title. It's not just, let
right.
it sit.
Well, and
Okay.
if there is ever an issue, based on the documentation, you can, if it does go to court, I mean, you could say, we did all these things, we notified him, we served him, we did all these things, he didn't respond. So at
Yeah.
the end of the day, once you go through the quiet title and they don't respond, then they typically don't have a leg to stand on.
Mm. Okay. And so you went through the quiet title process. So you finally got the clean title. And now this was an interesting property though, because you have the manufactured home and then it was a separate guest structure, a guest house.
Yeah. And I mean, her two motivating pain point factors was, buying the property, getting her money without satisfying the title before I closed, which I said I would do. And then the other issue is she had a renter living in a little studio that she was kind of afraid of. Like, she didn't want to deal with them. And, originally I said, give him notice when he's gone, then we'll close. She said, I don't want to do that. And I'll sell it to you at this price, but you're not going to say anything to him. I'm out of here. And I mean, she was literally afraid of this guy.
She said, I'm going to pay you to be the landlord now.
Yep. And you're going to deal with him, and we're not going to notify him. Part of the deal was we're not going to let him know anything until I'm gone.
Ooh, that's scary. Sheesh.
Yep.
That
So
sounds
I'm
serious.
like, okay, I'll take that on. So anyway, we closed.
You were like, wait, why are you scared of him? Should I be scared of him?
He was a little scary. So
Yeah.
and he was a little rough around the edges. So he was a little scary. And I mean, and she was an older lady, and just, she didn't want to deal with them.
Okay, so she's out. She's physically gone. She's out of the picture. You got the clean title. Issue him.
Well, I don't have
30-day notice.
Yeah, I'm still going through the quiet title process.
Okay.
So we closed. We closed. I own the property with the title defect, and so now I've got two issues. Cleaning up the title and also getting rid of this renter. And at this point, he didn't have a lease, which is a good thing. And those were the two issues that I had after close of escrow, after I closed and she got her proceeds and she was on her way.
So it wasn't a month-to-month lease. He's just living there, no lease.
Yeah, it was more verbal with, I mean, and he was paying her, not paying her. I mean, I think he had some drug issues. So it was just kind of a weird situation where this guy finagled his way into the guest house and then took advantage of this lady.
Oh, geez. That's crazy. So the next thing you did, you made some banana nut bread and you baked it and you took it to him and you said, hey.
I knocked on the door and said, welcome, I'm the new owner. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, I bought the property and you need to leave. And he basically, said, I'm not going to do that right now. And I said, well, I'm going to give you 30 days. So I handed him a 30-day notice and said, you've got 30 days to leave. I wasn't confident that he was going to get out of there. So the same attorney that I used for the quiet title also sent him a nice little letter and said that, if we need to start the eviction process, we will. And long and short of it, we had to get pretty aggressive with the eviction, and it kind of timed itself perfectly. So the quiet title and, the constable showing up and evicting this guy kind of all happened around the same time. So
That's
he
awesome.
continued to live there for 2.5 months, rent free.
Holy cow. Lesson
Well,
learned is have a good real estate attorney. We did a
um,
podcast episode on that recently. I'll link it up here.
and the one thing I did, I probably shouldn't say this, but I turned off all the utilities. So the guy was living there. Like, I didn't want to pay his electric bill. And yeah, so at the end
Yeah.
of the day, luckily it wasn't in the heat of the summer. So the
Yeah.
guy actually for like a month lived there with like I left the water running, but like no electricity.
Holy cow. And he was still just sticking it out.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so what's after this? The guy's finally out. And how much time has passed at this point in the
So
deal?
quiet title. I think we're now 3 months, little shy of 3 months into it.
Is this exhausting, or are you this is just another day,
I kind of like this stuff. I like everybody's afraid of these hard renters. Like I don't know. As long as you do it the correct way, and I don't know. I just this this is the part that I like.
This is like
I
the
mean,
puzzle to you. You're like, I gotta
solving
figure out.
for X. Yeah, I mean, we get paid to solve for X. So, and the bigger the X is, the better the deal typically. So, I mean, it's how it's. I mean, I like this part of it actually.
Hmm, that's cool. Okay, so guys out of the property.
Mhm.
What do you deciding? You want to hold it? You want to list it?
So the guy's out of the property. I did some light cleanup, and then listed it in the MLS. I mean, it was livable and kind of a unique property. And real. I mean, shortly. I mean, within. I mean, I had a lot of activity on it. I knew it was going to be easy to sell. And one of the buyers came to me with a condo that she had that she wanted to sell. She was willing to pay me what I wanted. And she said that if I sold it to her, that I could have her listing. So it's this is also a hybrid investor agent deal. So I ended up getting her listing, sold her property quickly. And she was wanting to pay cash, but she was a little short on proceeds from the sale of her condo.
Hmm.
So I carried back, I sold it to her, and then I did an owner carry for 25K. That's how much she was short. So I did a 10-year term, 25,000, 6%. So I'm collecting about 277 a month for 10 years, and
Hmm.
it's the note service through the title company. Whenever I do a carryback, I always have the title company service the note. And so yeah, I mean, I ended up netting, I think, close to 45,000 on the deal. So,
Hmm.
and that was all after attorney's fees and all expenses. So I mean, it was well worth it.
That's great, man. Is that 45,000 including the carryback proceeds over the next 10 years?
No, that doesn't include the interest.
Hmm. How often are you doing deals like that with the carryback?
Well, on these manufactured mobiles, just because of the price point, if I can get my initial investment back, typically when I put them in the MLS, I'll say that one thing that I do when I put them in the MLS just to save on time with calls and just because a lot of people, when you put owner carryback in the listing, you're going to get a ton of activity. But a
Mhm.
lot of people want an owner carryback with no money down, which is not what I'm willing to do. So what I always do when I say owner carryback in the document section of the MLS, I put the owner carryback terms. And so I just, I break it down and I usually say, no exception in terms of the down payment amount. And so pretty much, when I do a carryback, it's non-negotiable in terms of my terms. But always, always, always on a manufactured home for the most part, I mean, I go at it wanting to get my initial investment back and then do a carryback. And I mean, I'm successful probably 80, 90% of the time. Unless somebody just, is going to pay cash and we're done. But, typically on the manufactured and mobiles, I mean, I do cash or owner carryback. Those are the two options that I give them.
Mm, okay. I'm curious, what's your thought process for deciding whether you want to keep this as a rental or list it?
Location. So I do have quite a
Mm,
few rentals, but for me, it's like I've got this location that's probably 10 minutes from where I live. So the majority of my rentals I can get to really, really quickly. So location for me and just, type of property. This one was on the southwest part of Tucson. So it wasn't one that I would have kept it as a rental if it was going to take longer to deal with the title issue at hand. But
mhm.
fortunately, I didn't have to do that. So I was prepared to keep it as a rental, but it's not one that I would normally keep as a rental just based on where it's located.
Interesting. Are you being property manager, landlord for your rentals, or are you
I,
you
I
out there
am.
pretty
I
often?
I self-manage all of our properties.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Are you having fun with it, or is it?
Oh, it's fun. I mean, I've got some really good renters, so
Uh-huh.
it makes
Okay.
it easier with good renters. We just did our first Airbnb
Mm,
that went live into April, May, and we're self-managing that, but we do have a cleaning person that does the turnover. So
mhm.
that's been a learning experience for us as well. But yeah, so far we self-manage all of our units. And right now I think we've got 10 doors.
Okay. That's nice that you're doing that and you're still having fun and still managing it well. Because usually when you hear about somebody managing their own rentals, the first thing is like they want to get out of it. They're pulling their hair out.
Yeah, it's not,
But
I mean, as long as I mean, this is a whole nother subject, but I've learned the hard way on how to get really, really good renters. And so, I mean, I'll keep it short and sweet if you want in terms
let
of,
I don't know. I kind of want to break it down. Like I feel like we've gone through most of this deal, and that's like a huge headache for a lot of people. Is like just dealing with renters. I was
well,
just reading a Facebook thread from one of our carrot campers. Just I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago about how it's in Washington, and Washington is very strict. They're very much on the side of the renter to the
right,
detriment of the landlord, and it was something like $13,000 in rent overdue, and they can't evict them yet, and they're still asking him for more time. They're trying to get him out, and he's like, "I can't give him any more time." I mean, $13,000 in debt to me, plus damages, plus yeah,
right.
and it's
Well,
such a headache.
I mean, if you get a bad renter, it's a nightmare. But I've had bad renters, and I've figured out a way to increase the likelihood of getting a really, really good renter. And as an agent, you got to be a little bit careful because, you know, equal housing and not discriminating and all those things go into, there's more liability, as an owner agent, as a landlord, especially when you're renting a property, that you need to be a little bit careful of. But I mean, for years and years and years, we'd have a rental, we'd put it up for rent. And then every time I'd get a call, I'd run out and meet with the person. The minute you get there, you're not going to rent to them. And then you've got to spend the next half an hour, 45 minutes to an hour dealing with somebody that that you're just not going
Mhm.
to rent to. So it's a total waste of time. So, I mean, this was probably 10 years back. I had an epiphany and I said, you know what? I'm going to treat this rental like an open house listing. And so all the rentals that I have when they're vacant, I usually put them in the MLS. So you can put your rentals in the MLS and then it syndicates out to Zillow and all the other IDX places. But so what I've done, I mean, this was kind of a test and I'm like, wow, that was awesome. So you put it in the MLS. And then what I do is say open house on Saturday between like noon and 3. And then you get phone calls like, I'm interested. I want your property and I want to come see it now. Sorry, it's going to be open between, noon and 3 on Saturday. And that's the
Mhm.
only time that it's going to be available, but I can't see it then. And I really want it. Well, tough. And so like you still get a flood of these calls, and in the listing, I mean, you put that open and then you treat it like an open house where you have all your open house signs. And I mean, every time I've done this, I've had 30 to 40 people show up. And
Hmm.
my wife is usually there helping me. And I tell people, if you're really serious, you can take the application, and I post the application, fill it out, get it back to us. And if you really, really want it and have a good shot at it, make sure that you're prepared when you come to the open house. And so now, my wife and I are, working the people coming in, we're taking the open houses, we're interviewing people. And usually out of those 30, 40 people, you can dwindle it down to, a handful of 2 to 3 solid, really, really good renters. And then you're not wasting your time driving out, meeting with one renter at a time. And if it doesn't happen that open house, then you do it the next week. But it's always for
Hmm.
us. I mean, we've been able to get really, really good renters, not waste a ton of time, and have a ton of people to choose from. And again, not wasting time meeting, one person at a time when they want to see the property.
Hmm. That's awesome, man. It's genius. It's like a open job interview.
Yeah. Oh,
It's no
kind of.
different than a business putting on an open job interview and saying, "Hey, come and we want to meet you in person to
Yep.
see see kind of who you are, what you stand for, what you care about, and if you're going to take care of this place."
Well, and it's funny because, you can see it. They're competing against each other. And the ones that, show up dressed right and, presenting themselves. Yeah. I mean, it just, it makes it easy to sort through and dwindle it down to, a handful of really good renters. But all the renters I have are awesome. They pay
Hmm.
on time, they're clean. So right now I'm fortunate to have some really good renters.
Hmm. I get this image as you're describing this open house of like the Hunger Games of people
Yeah.
trying to compete for this rental.
Well, it's like a job interview, totally.
That's awesome.
But it's crazy. I mean, it's nuts, and people they get aggressive, because
Yeah.
but the ones that are prepared, that filled out the app, and the other thing I do is I go look at their car. If
Hmm.
their car's trashed out and junky and not
Oh yeah.
clean, I mean, it's how they take care of their car is how they're going to take care of your home.
You're like, which one of
And
these has the most visible dashboard? You can't see the
exactly.
dashboard with too much fast food? No.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been clean in a year. Nope.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's a really good tip. That's a really good one.
So, I mean, yeah, the first thing you do is you take a look at their car. I mean, look inside and just see how they take care of it. But if
Mm,
their car's all trashed out, and chances are they're not going to take good care of your home.
interesting. Is there anything else you do besides, putting it on the MLS? Well, and I was also gonna ask, when you put it on the MLS, it's the same as a listing a house for sale, but there's just a rental option, I'm
Yeah,
guessing, because I
just a
haven't seen
rental.
this. Oh,
Yeah, it's a
okay.
rental in our MLS. You can put a rental in there, and then and again it syndicates out to Zillow and
Hmm,
Realtor.com and all the different IDXs out there. But yeah, it's just a rental property.
hmm.
And yeah, I mean it's great.
Is there anything else you're doing, or has that been enough for you to get good quality renters in?
That's all we're doing. So
Hmm,
it's usually, one 3 or 4 hour day on the weekend, and 30 to 40 people showing up. And I use Cozy to manage the back end of the monthly payments, which is awesome. I think they just sold to apartments.com. But yeah, they do all the monthly billing, and it's cozyco.co. Hold on, let me see.
cozyco.co.
Yeah, I think they just sold though. Cozy.
And that's for managing your, renter payments?
Yeah, renter payments, even applications, even screening, credit apps, all that kind of good stuff. Yeah, and I think it's apartments.com. They just changed. I just got a notification that they changed over, they sold. But
Hmm,
yeah, it's an awesome system.
sweet.
So
Well, I
that's
ain't
the
paying
other
it.
thing that they have to do is they got to be willing to, pay online. So it's all automated
Hmm,
in
yeah.
terms of the monthly payment that they make, and then how I get paid. So it's all automated.
There's another really good one. This is actually what I use. we're renting right now while we're building our house, and
Uh,
our landlord started using Rent Ready,
mhm,
REDI,
mhm.
rentready.com. It's awesome. It's an app. You can like submit
Yep.
maintenance requests through there and make all your payments through there. It's just super automated, super easy. No phone call, email thread going back and forth with the landlord's assistant. It's a really nice app.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Um,
there's some good ones out there, but I would recommend, yeah, doing that. And it's just much easier as far as getting payment.
hmm. Is there anything about this deal you would have done differently looking back? Anything you
What would I
regret with
done
it?
differently? I mean, the other thing, the net profit was, I got 3% on the sales side of a condo. What would I have done differently? You know, I, I don't know that I would have done anything differently. It just kind of all I knew the challenges that going into it, I knew the challenges. Um, I don't know. I mean, the only thing that yes and no. I mean, if he would have signed a quick claim deed, I was willing to pay him, but and it
Mm,
might have been cheaper because by the time I got done paying all the attorney fees, it was close to what I would have paid him. So the only outcome that I would have preferred to have was paying him to sign the quick claim, which didn't happen. Other than that, I mean, it was just going through the process of satisfying the quiet title. So I don't think there's anything that I could have done different.
When you guys served him, was that
Mhm.
in the papers to him saying, "Hey, we'll give you a cash offer of 5,000 if you sign," and
Well, initially, so I gave my attorney permission to start at 1,000 and go up to 5,000.
mhm,
So initially we offered him 1,000. We were just trying to also get him to communicate with us. And I gave him permission to go up to 5. So
mm,
we were going to start out, low and end up maybe somewhere in the middle. And I gave him that permission. But yeah, we served him and somebody signed for the papers more than once. The other thing I could have done that I decided not to do is I could have put a judgment against him.
mm.
So the attorney said, "Do you want to file a judgment?" And I could have gone after him for all my expenses, the attorney told me.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Interesting.
And I just said, "You know what? I don't want to do that. I'm good."
Do you feel
But
like it wouldn't have been the right thing to do, or it just would have been too much of a headache for you?
well, not necessarily. He was willing to do it all. But at the end of the day, the guy, serving him and getting money out of somebody, I mean, there could have been a judgment against him, but if the guy's broke at the end of the day,
Mm,
I don't know. I just didn't feel as
right.
though it's not something, I don't know. The attorney was pushing me to do that. And I just told him, you know what? I'm good.
Yeah,
We
it's
don't,
just
we
not
don't,
your style. It's okay.
yeah, we don't need to go there. So, but
And the deal worked out.
I could have flipped it around and because of, yeah, I could have gone after the expenses.
Hmm.
That's what he
Yeah.
told me anyway. And he
Yeah.
was all ready to roll. And I'm like, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, it's another thing you gotta focus on. It's another thing to deal with. Even if he is doing the work, it's like it's still
Right.
just one more thing added to the list. Hmm.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, man, I appreciate you sharing, breaking down this deal with us. This is a really interesting one. It's cool to hear you navigate all these different complexities and make it a win-win situation. It's really valuable. It really served the lady well. Helped her get out of there without having to deal with the questionable renter in the back. And I think this is a great deal, man.
Yeah. So she was
Um,
happy and, she knew I was going to make some good money on it once I dealt with all the issues at hand. But again, her thing was like, I need to get out of here. I need my money and you deal with it. And so I said, okay. And we hit it off. I had good rapport with her and we got it done. So I was
mm,
glad I could help her.
mm. As we wrap it up, man, one question for you. As we were talking about this a few weeks ago, kind of what's coming up in this next market cycle. Um, what's on the horizon for you over the next year or so as the market starts to shift? And then long term over the next 10, 15 years, if you're looking at uh, what's your exit strategy, what's your retirement plan as far as the business goes?
Well, the shorter term horizon, I do feel we're going to get a pullback in this market, 10, 15, maybe 20%. So I'm more on the conservative side of, as I've mentioned before, I've lost quite a few deals lately just because I am being a little bit more conservative. But we're still going to continue to buy, but I'm pricing, I'm pricing a little bit more into what I feel is going to be a declining market. And my strategy is always to hotel properties. I'm not doing any rehabs. We get them, we do light cleanup, and then we get them sold. So for me, time is of the essence. And if you get stuck in the middle of a rehab with a big market shift, you can get yourself in a little bit of trouble. So everything we do is all about speed. So I'm just about, doing deals and then getting them sold as quick as I can. And then long term, the rehab and fix and flips, they're all great, but you're still exchanging hours for dollars. It's not residual in nature. So pretty much 100% of our profits we put back into accumulating more rentals or cleaning up our balance sheet and paying off debt. So for us, it's all about cash flow. So, in another 5-10 years, I still want to generate leads, but do I want to be doing the deals? Maybe not. I might find somebody to come in and work the leads, sell them off, and then just focus on our rental portfolio and also accumulating a couple more Airbnbs. So long term, I'd like to have what I call freedom number. I'm working towards a certain number that's a monthly residual number, and that will allow us to do whatever we want to do, and just allow us the freedom to do what we want to do.
I like all these little these little taglines. We've got a sleep factor. We have the freedom number.
The sleep factor. It's like on this deal, I have what is called the sleep factor. Something's going to keep me up at night. Depending on how much it's going to keep me up at night, I might decide not to do it. But this one, kept me up at night for maybe a night. But I just, again, once I assume worst case scenario, I was good with it. But there's times where I know something's going to keep me up at night. And if it's called my sleep meter. And if it's something that is going to keep me up a lot, I might choose not to do it.
That's awesome, man. I love that. Well, thanks again for sharing, man. We're out of time for today. I appreciate it. If anyone, for anyone listening, watching,
questions?
It looks like we don't have no questions right now. Oh, how much? Oh, there is. Sorry, I wasn't even looking at the right spot on the screen. We'll answer this question and we'll wrap it up real quick.
Okay.
Ryan Roberts on Facebook. How much did the quiet? So sorry, Ryan. How much did the quiet title cost? Yeah, I've only done one, and it was more than $20,000. Holy cow! He said, "I think the lawyer screwed me, but what do I know?"
Well, no, I mean, quiet titles in Arizona with usually I've done more than one quiet title, and a couple that I've done haven't really cost me anything. That the escrow company just does what they need to do, and then you just wait. I think I was probably 5,000 into the attorney with between the eviction and serving and everything, but 20,000 to me seems excessive. But you could be in a state that's an attorney state, not an escrow state. So we're in an escrow state where the escrow company handles everything. I did bring an attorney in to kind of try to speed up the process and track this guy down to try to pay him off. So I didn't have to do it that way, but I chose to because I was willing to give the guy some money if we could get him to cooperate, which he didn't do.
He says California.
Yeah, at 20,000 seems high to me. It wouldn't be 20,000 in Arizona.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
We've got Ryan. I'm going to link it up in the show notes here, but we've got a really good episode we did with CC Moreno, wife of one of our customers, and she's an attorney, and we had an episode. I think it was something like 10 questions or 10 things you need to ask your attorney, and kind of just how to build a long-term valuable relationship with that attorney, and try to find someone who is familiar with wholesaling and real estate and investing in general, and try to find that person. So we'll link it up. Ryan says another reason California sucks. That's tough, man. That's tough. Well, thanks, Ryan, for popping into the questions. Thanks again, Tyler. Anybody watching, listening, make sure to subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and catch these when they come out, and get the chance to hop on with us live. That being said, thanks for joining, Tyler. Have a good week, man.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yep. We'll catch you next time.
Okay. Have a good day. Bye.